Oh dear. So we are coming to you live from Cumbria, and through the wonders of Twitch and Facebook Live, if it can hear us with my phone. So we'll have to see. But yeah. So I don't know. We did discuss we should do a jingle. Really, we need one so that we know when we have to start talking properly about stuff. But yeah, Sean, do you want to intro?
Yeah. So yeah, welcome everybody. Yeah, we're just gonna chat a little bit about this game that's just gone live on Kickstarter. Wandering's Call is called. Fabulous new rules light dark fantasy game. I'm sure we'll talk about the nerdy stuff whilst we're at it.
Absolutely.
And yeah, bit of a Q&A. If anyone ever has any questions, just put them in chat and we shall try and answer them. You can ask any questions, but we'll probably give you any answer if you do.
That's true.
So yeah, we have a few questions from beforehand as well. So
we've come prepared. We're incredibly professional, actually. We started on time. You know, we'll ignore the mic issues, but apart from that, yeah, I'm very impressed. With you, mainly.
I don't know, my computer was having some driver issues 5 minutes ago, so that was nice. But we're here now.
All is well.
So yeah.
Shall we start?
Shall we do one question?
We'll do one question. Do you want me to just randomly stab or go from the beginning? Well, so Wandering's Call. As you say, rules light, dark fantasy, tabletop role-playing game, as they say, or TTRPG. So how did this come about? Why are we sat here with this game having been launched?
Well, that's probably got a very long answer, but it started, I don't know when it started, a while ago, months ago, but it was actually Robin who had the idea. The third person in our wonderful trio, who's unfortunately can't be here today because he's planning a wedding. How rude.
I know, some people.
I know, shocking.
We should have a little mannequin or something.
Robin.
Just of Robin.
Very tall Swedish Robin.
Yes. Yeah, big mannequin actually. Anyway.
But yeah, it was him, and it was actually, I don't know if it was so much as a throwaway idea, but as an idea for a play or a short story or something. Wow, yeah, this is probably 18 months ago. So yeah, we played around with that a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I converted those ideas into what's the name of them? In Fate Core.
Right, yeah.
The book over there. You can make little additions. So I made a soul walker / wanderer thing for Fate. And then about a year ago. No, not quite a year ago. I thought, you know what, this needs its own standalone thing. Yeah.
So at what point were you this isn't going to work within the Fate system? It needs its whole own play system. Why did you decide that?
It's tough because Fate's a great system. It's just a bit different. If that makes sense.
Being diplomatic here.
Yeah, no, it is a great system, but it is so different to what a lot of people have used before. It's about as far away from D&D as you can get, but it has some really, really cool features, like using a D6, which I'm sure we'll get on to.
That's right.
So yeah, it was just trying to be a little bit more approachable.
Yeah, because I've only played D&D when it comes to tabletop stuff. I've read a lot of fantasy and sci-fi. I've played a lot of role-playing computer games and things like that, and I've always been really interested in it, but always felt, I don't know anyone who plays, or I feel too awkward about it, or whatever. So, do you think Wandering's Call is accessible to people who've not played at all? Not played role-playing games? Or where would you place it on the kind of continuum of most complicated to least complicated?
it's very accessible in terms of like mechanics, I think. You just colour in dots on a character sheet, and the more dots you have, the more good. And you roll the same number of dice as you have dots. So like mechanically, it's not simple, but it's streamlined. That's a good word. It is very roleplay heavy. So I think a brand new group, it'd be really fun, because with the other systems, you sort of pigeonholed a little bit, or the roleplay aspect isn't really focused on much. So in this book there's like a lot of guidance. So whilst it might seem a bit scary at first, I think that freedom is just really useful. But with the sort of outline, it's really hard to explain.
It's like, from my experience of doing like some of the play tests that we've done, and then comparing that to our D&D games, I think there is that, I found that initial kind of lack of kind of go-to moves or go-to kind of mechanics that I'm used to in D&D. So the first time was a bit like, oh, I can do anything. That's like terrifying. But then after a while, it's like, I can do anything within the kind of structure of the story that you're trying to tell and that your games marshal has set up for you. And I think, like, as long as you're kind of all buying into this is the setting, then that kind of goes for any role-playing game, does it, really? Yeah,
that buy-in, I think, is like the key. Especially with other systems that are a little heavier, like the World of Darkness stuff, Vampire the Masquerade. It can get quite sort of heavy at times, very heavy at times. So you need that player buy-in. So it's not players and the games master facing off against each other. It's like everybody's in this together, sort of thing.
It's what do they call collaborative storytelling and
exactly.
That sort of thing, which is part of the joy of it, I think. So
it's a surprisingly long road. It's taken a while to kind of get here, but it was such a cool core concept. I couldn't let it not be a game.
It must live.
Robin is an absolute genius when it comes to ideas. Messed up ideas at times. But he has played a lot of World of Darkness as well. So. So
this is like a kind of spiritual child of a lot of different tabletop games and maybe computer games and novels and things, all kind of feeding into this, which is lovely, because you can kind of get some references, but you don't need the references to understand the game. But if you do, you're like, oh, hang on a minute, I know that one. Which is great. So why D6s?
Why D6s?
Why this little cube?
So
hey, we've got a cube in chat, and we've got a D6 here. So why is it a D6 based game?
Mainly because it's kind of the dice everyone has already. I think like even non-tabletop gamers usually have a dice knocking about. I think a lot of other systems don't use it because obviously it's only 1 to 6. A lot of other games are like D10s, so 1 in 10 chance of success or whatever. But again, I just wanted everything to be so accessible. I've tried to make the mechanics work with a D6. Luckily, background in maths has been very helpful. I was going to say, I have seen your probability spreadsheets, and they are so incredibly they make no sense to me, but I don't really understand any of this math stuff. I can like add up, and that's about it. I can take away, if I'm lucky I might do multiplication. But it's not that
so mathematically or statistically speaking, how have you made sure that this game kind of works? Like, what kind of things did you have to consider?
Because there's only 6 sides. If, say, you wanted to succeed on just a 6, that's a 1 in 6 chance. Which actually, if you count the number of times you roll a dice in a session, would actually come up quite often. But well,
Yeah.
it sort of, again, depends. If you're just rolling one dice, obviously every 6 times, only succeeding like 1 in 6 times is a bit rubbish. It's not very fun.
Yeah.
And obviously the way to get around that is have more dice. So if you're rolling 6 dice, then you're guaranteed 1 success. But then I wanted us to succeed slightly more than fail. So
That's good of you. Thanks.
like statistically, I mean,
Yeah.
Everybody
It's a
succeed.
positive. Yeah, give him some, throw us a bone at some point and be like, yeah.
So I made it that you could only fail if you don't succeed. So if you roll 1s, that's a failure, but they only count if you don't roll 6s.
Okay.
So that like skews the probability slightly, because not only do you have to get a 1 to fail, you also have to not roll a 6.
Right, okay.
And there's, for every dice, there are
2 chances.
well
No.
four numbers that are 1 and 6.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like a third. But actually, once you start getting up to sort of 8 to 10 dice, which is vague average of what you'll be rolling, it actually works really, really well.
Right, okay.
You succeed most of the time on easy stuff, but you still have the opportunity for crazy epic fails.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. So we were both going, what? Yeah.
It took a... I think the sort of key turning point for the system was this: 1s only count if you don't roll 6s. Because I played about with all sorts. Again, like other systems where failures cancel out successes and all this, that, and I thought, well, maybe 5 could be 1 success and 6 could be 2, and I tried all sorts, but this seems the simplest. But because the number of dice we're playing with gets quite big, it opens up all kinds of opportunities. And I think, was it your first roll in the playtest? You got like a triple failure or something?
Oh yeah, of course I did. Yeah, it was it was pretty bad.
Yeah, exactly. World of Darkness is... the theme is fantastic. The system's great as well. I do love the World of Darkness system. Again, it's quite big. The combat rules in particular, I think, are very good. But in terms of like role play and things like that, World of Darkness is such a good system. Vampire the Masquerade, not so much the latest version. I don't know. It's good, but I prefer the old one.
I have played neither of these, so maybe I should put that on my ever-growing to-do list of stuff to get into and books to buy and game systems to try and...
Yeah, I recommend it. It's, like I say, it can be a bit hard hitting at times.
Yeah.
The world of vampires is not a nice world.
Yeah.
Vampires are not nice people.
No, they're not sparkly.
No, not so much in that system, no.
That's a shame.
Yeah, there is a... God, I've even forgotten. Like a drawback you can get in that system, where it's like when you become a vampire, you take on like the persona of like a Hollywood vampire with like the cape and stuff, and all the other everybody else in the clan. It's like
that was. Have you watched Supernatural at all?
No.
So there was this episode of Supernatural where there was a shapeshifter, and they would turn into like different classes, but they were obsessed with like horror movies, like old school horror, like Hammer horror and all that stuff. So they would turn into these creatures, and the two boys, like the Supernatural. Oh my god, I've forgotten their blooming names. That's not very good at all. Winchesters, that's it, the Winchester one. So they're really confused because they're coming across all these bodies and they're like, it'll be like a classic vampire kill. And everyone's like, oh yeah, I saw this thing with a cape. And it was like, oh, I want those, and they're like, but that's not what real vampires are like. What is going on here? And it takes them, and yeah, I've now spoiled the episode if anyone wants to watch it. But yeah, they basically it's this love, and that episode is so fun because it's a proper homage to these old, really kind of campy horror films, and parts of it are in black and white, and it's all shot at like really jaunty angles. And it's brilliant. kind of showed to me that these guys who are making this show like do actually love horror, even though they've made this like, you know, very big TV show and everything. They do ultimately love the core of it. But yeah, so I think, yeah, vampires. I like my vampires to be evil. I'm like, yeah, evil monsters, and they should stay. Oh, no, they shouldn't. Yeah, play around with it a bit, but yeah, I'm like, fundamentally, we need to remember that they are like terrible things.
Terrible beasts.
Yeah.
Drink blood and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, so do we have vampires in Wandering's Call, or vampiric stuff?
Not. Sort of.
Sort of.
You can take other people's soul power. It's like the main sort of stat in the game.
To be honest, yeah, we should sort of roll back a minute here and talk about soul power. And talk about the main kind of magical mechanic that is in this game.
Yeah. Disco vampires. Absolutely.
Yes. Oh, that is true, yeah.
Was it the black ribboners or something? Something ribboners? I can't remember.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, Pratchett, the ultimate exception to everything. So, yeah.
Indeed. So yeah, you in the system you play a person called a wanderer.
Right.
And their whole thing is that when they, get late teens, early 20s, they develop these powers, and things they imagine happening around them do actually start happening around them. And after a sort of a cataclysmic event, awakening, so to speak, they sort of instinctually know how to control the power of their soul. And their soul connects to every other soul, it connects to the world and everything around them. And that power is sort of donated by soul power, simply. The more soul power you use for a manifestation, as it's called, the more powerful the thing is. And it can literally be anything. You can change your eye colour, you can grow big long talons, you can buff your strength, your speed, but you can also do external things as well. So you can shoot fireballs or mind control people or kind of anything really. Make sparkles. But
there's some things that you can do that are kind of like the equivalent of a cantrip. Like you kind of get them for free.
Yeah, very, very basic things you can just sort of do. Yeah, like a small shower of sparks, say. If you wanted to project them further or make them a specific colour or make them burn or something, that's when you would have to use actual soul power.
Yeah, but it would be you just want to distract somebody so that I can go this way. I can just make a little sparkle somewhere. Yeah.
And part of your awakening, you on the character sheet, there's a link on the Kickstarter. You sort of sum up where your main power lies, and it can be quite open. It's sort of fate-esque, actually. Where any manifestations you do that sort of vaguely relate to your awakening, you get a little cheaper.
Right.
So,
or you get to roll more dice.
You can, You either reduce the cost by one, or gain a free one. Whichever, yeah. So
I just like to roll more dice, to be honest. It feels good.
More dice is more good.
Yes, it's been proven, particularly. I'm a little dice goblin now. I'm quite pleased with myself. I haven't gone crazy yet with playing dice, but I feel it's in my future.
I have quite a lot in that cupboard there.
Yeah, just open the cupboard.
Yeah. I don't want to think how many dice I've got. It's a really nice way of sort of customising your character.
I particularly like how it's not so again I'm using a D&D as my frame of reference because it's what I know, it's the only one I know really. Probably like Morrowind or like the Elder Scrolls games where you can choose your star sign, or you can choose your you can choose your race and your star sign and different things. Yep. It's sort of the awakening aspect of Wandering's Call, I feel is a bit like that, or it's like choosing your character and background in D&D.
Yeah.
But it's leaning into that, but it's so much more free, because you can be really silly with it, or you can really kind of craft a character, like a story that you really want to tell for this particular person, and you're not kind of like, you're not penned in by like, oh, I need to be a noble background, or a this, that, or I'm under the star sign of the mother, so I can't, you know, it's so craftable. Is that the word? Malleable. There we go. Yeah. Malleable.
Great word.
That's the word.
Yeah. You can write more if you kind of want, but ultimately it's really nice just to have this sentence that you can riff off completely. I think, I think what examples we've had. What was thingies? Everyone
hates to love me.
Hates to love me.
They hate to love me.
That's their awakening.
Yeah. So that was all based on like charisma and not quite mind control, but like, you know, sort of persuasion and things. Yeah. So it's like they hate to love me. So that ability to use your soul power to craft things, change things to have people do what you like without them really knowing.
Yes, that was good. Yeah, use your soul to just, like, people around you just become a little bit more receptive to what you want and things, or you can pump even more soul power in and literally just make them
do this now. Yes, really go for the mind control aspect. What other ones? I mean, it's so anything. And I mean, my one, the Gideon.
Oh yes, Gideon.
I had just finished reading the first playtest we did. I just finished reading Gideon the Ninth, so my first character was Gideon the Ninth, and her awakening, I decided, was weapons, please. And yeah, she just she ended up conjuring like we were. I won't say too much.
No, but I might use that as
of course. Yes, you might use that, but I won't say too much. But essentially, she ended up hitting this particular thing that we were all fighting, and really needed to put some welly into it. So instead of just hitting it with this like bog standard axe, I used some of the soul power to like conjure this like spiritual like giant mallet or something. It was like, in my head I was kind of thinking of like Looney Tunes or something, you know, or Space Jam. It's like, you know, all of a sudden this giant like, completely oversized but kind of glowing white mallet just like slams down. Yeah, it's really good fun. I think actually I ended up springboarding off of Jay's back. Jay's characters. Yes,
because they were
like, oh yeah, I'm gonna boost you. Oh, brilliant.
Yes, Road Dragon, that was a really good one as well. The character that's like specialises in telepathy. Give me a lever and I will move the world.
Yeah, and I think for me, this aspect of summing your character, not completely, but having a
very accessible, a bit more.
Yeah, of course, but I almost like a family motto, or like like the Game of Thrones house mottos or something. It's like what's the flavour of your character and their powers? How are their powers going to be flavoured by their awakening? They can do other stuff as well. They can do anything, but it might not be as easy or come as naturally. Yeah.
This is danger with very open systems, that there's sometimes too much freedom. People don't know what to pick or anything. Yeah. So I just thought that would be a really nice way of getting people to kind of home in a little bit on what their character might be better at, and it helps you think about the backstory as well. Like, what was that one defining event when they were like 2021, which completely changed their world? Like, completely. They have to follow the Wandering's call.
Which leads us on to the next question. Wonderfully. Nice segue there. What is the call? What is the Wandering's call?
I'm not telling you.
Damn. We're going to have to play the game. We're going to have to like back it on Kickstarter. Oh no! Like and subscribe. Yeah.
But what the Wandering's call is basically an instinct that wanderers have. That makes them wander. It pulls them somewhere. They don't know where. They don't know when it's going to happen. They might be able to stay in a place for months. Sometimes it's sometimes it's hours. Literally, they finish whatever it is they've been drawn to this place for, And then an hour later, they get the tug again.
No, nope, gotta go.
Yes. And if you ignore the call, you can, but things get progressively bad, very bad, until your soul just snaps, basically. And you're left basically just a husk of a human that sort of stares blankly at walls until something happens to them.
Which we won't.
Which is pretty dark, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't ignore the wandering skull.
Yeah. And I think, again, the scope of this game is so wonderful because you can just... That is part of the game. It's part of the lore of these characters and why they do the things they do, go the places they go and have the powers that they have. And you can kind of know about that, but just play your play session. Like, play whatever your GM's plan for you and that. But if you wanted to lean into that darkness of it and lean into what is what happens if these people are at the point of their soul dying, you can. I think that you can kind of go really dark if you want to, and if your players are happy for that, or you can just be like, "I'm going to keep things a little bit lighter."
Yeah, exactly. It's a really nice mechanic for marshals, which we call GMs in this system, to kind of get everybody together. And sometimes in the D&D party, it's getting everybody motivated to go on the same path. It can be a bit hard. Whereas in this system, it's like, nope, you are going this way now. Which, if you did it in a session, is very railroady. So I definitely... The wandering isn't so specific, like, it makes you go into this room. Oops.
Really?
It pulls you to an area, and then it fades once you're in the vague area. If you try and leave, it'll try and draw you back.
Right, okay.
But yeah, you can go very dark with it. I mean, being like chained up somewhere and then the wandering happening and the panic starting to set in as like your brain is telling you need to go, you can't. And
yeah, I mean, if you were just in prison or jail or something, but well, as you
don't get caught.
Yes, yeah. So actually, So shall we talk more about the wanderers themselves? Mm-hmm. So they have the soul power.
Yep.
They have their awakening in their sort of early 20s-ish. They may have had instances of the power kind of leaking through before then when they're younger, but like the real true sort of snapping point is then their early 20s.
Yep.
So then what do they do? So they just what would be the average kind of month for a wanderer?
Well, it'd be very varied, I would think. Because, sometimes the wandering could just not appear for months on end. So they'll be like, now what do I do?
Do I make a life?
I have
get
to
a job?
survive.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's a lot of what drives wanderers is sometimes they really want the wandering because they can't really settle down in one place because they know it's going to come eventually. So that they want to be on to the next thing. It's a really, really interesting question, actually. I think you can go in a lot of different directions with that.
Yeah.
And I'd leave that open to the player, but you've got to earn money somehow. You've got to feed yourself somehow.
Yeah.
And I think it's really interesting to think how your character would deal with that. Would they turn to stealing? Are they super charismatic and they can just go up to a cafe and say, do you need a hand for a day or whatever? Just pay me in food or... It's a tough life.
Yeah.
You need good shoes.
Good shoes.
Good shoes.
Tough shoes. Good rucksack as well. Definitely
yes.
a decent sized rucksack.
Yes, but rucksacks are super important to wanderers. They're like... It's a massive faux pas if a wanderer touches another wanderer's rucksack because it's like this is their life. Like
this is the shell of the turtle's back sort of thing. It's part of them. It's the only thing that they can truly call their own, I guess. In a way that they can keep.
Yep.
Yeah.
The I guess a lot of wanderers would keep like bank accounts and stuff, but it's hard because you don't know if you'll ever end up going home. So. Be taken halfway across the world.
Yeah.
You have to go to France. You don't speak French. Oh well, that's a bit of a problem, isn't it?
Le wandering.
Le wandering.
Good God. I think And I don't know if we've mentioned this before or not, but it's meant to be sort of a modern day setting, present day setting. So you can take into account things like bank accounts and kind of modern day conveniences in terms of like waterproof gear and just the like the travelling aspect and the being on the road aspect. But it could it be in any place or any setting that the Marshal wanted?
Yeah, well, the table. Not just the Marshal. Like all the
of course, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you meant on a table. I was like,
they could be
I was like,
on a table.
yeah, like, I know they're playing on a table, but the setting is also a table.
You can play tiny dust mites on the table, absolutely.
You play tabletop games where you're playing as characters who are playing a tabletop game. I was very confused for a second then.
But no,
it's very meta.
It could be any setting really, and sort of any power level. In the book, it's sort of set out as how we intend it, but there's lots of little snippets for like how you tweak to this setting, or if you want to be like superheroes, like make things cost less soul power or give characters more soul power.
So you can play on easy mode or hard mode, or
it depends how you want. Some people love the grind. It can even be in spares.
Could be.
Yeah, the reason the character sheets don't have the specialities on them is for that reason. Because you pick 8, is it, at the start? I can't remember. I should probably know.
The thing is, these have been tweaked and changed and adjusted sometimes.
Still being tested.
I was looking for some character sheets, and I've got 2 different versions, and neither of which I think are the final version either. So I was like, these aren't really useful.
Yeah, we did stand up for 5, didn't we? And we just found that it wasn't quite as fun as it should be, so we upped it a little bit. So. Yeah,
and then it's definitely been interesting to play test from like enjoying the game, because I know every game we've done I've really enjoyed it just for the sake of itself, like just to enjoy that session, but then to kind of like sit back and kind of like, right, okay, was there anything that I was coming up against that was a bit of a struggle, or I was thinking, what if we just things simple like quality of life stuff, like putting little lines in between the pips on the sheet so that you can count them more quickly, because otherwise you're sat there like 1, 2, 3 4, and then I'll get distracted and start again. Like,
in a way it's been really nice having someone who isn't like super experienced with roleplay games yet. Like
a weakness is a strength.
But it's been really good, because we do, everyone wants this to be like fun for everybody. Like, if it's your first game, or if you're a veteran. The problem is that I have played a lot of different systems. I have played a lot, so I've become a little bit blind to certain things. And just having those fresh eyes is just really refreshing.
Cat Cube says, I like the commitment to making it fun. And absolutely, I think that has come through for every part of this, because I came into this only like a month or so, a couple of months ago.
This is, the whole system is like, I want to do this in game, and you kind of figure out how you do it. Might not be possible, but quite a lot of stuff is possible in this game if you have enough soul power. It might almost kill you, but you might be able to do it. What was I saying now? But fun. I have, obviously, it's a rule book. At the very start, there is rule number 1, and that is, it should be a fun game for everyone. Marshal, all the players, everyone. So that's rule 1. Rule number 2 is that the Marshal is always right. Not always right, but basically the Marshal has, like, at the end of the day, ultimate say.
Final kind of, we're doing this.
And then if there's any problems with that at the end of the session, to talk about it. Just because it is quite an open, free system, it would descend into absolute chaos if everybody just could do literally what they wanted. Just having that one person there just to go, we'll just run with this for now, and then we'll have a think about it later. The last thing you want interrupting a really sort of intense emotional scene. It's like, oh, should I roll 9 dice or 10?
Yeah. Yeah, just I think it's like you say, it's about fun. It's about kind of playability.
Yeah.
This is a more role play. I'd say it leans more towards the role play aspect, but that is very much at the discretion of the marshal and the players, and like how much they want to like, because there are mechanics for combat.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
So tell us what are the mechanics of the combat system?
Yep. Basically, it's just you roll some dice depending on how you're attacking. You'll be surprised.
Yeah. Wow.
You spin a thing. No. Depending on how you're attacking, if you're like, I don't know, punching someone, you would roll your brawn. So it's like your strength. Plus, if you have it, your hand-to-hand speciality. You roll your dice, count how many 6s there are, that's how many successes. And then the defender rolls their dice. They can roll the same, or if they instead decide to want to dive out the way, they would roll fitness, for example, with an acrobatics speciality. So there's like loads of different ways you can attack it. You don't have an armor class per se. You have your skill to either dodge or stand in the way and take it, or do something else. And basically, to hit, you just have to roll more successes than the defender. Simple as that. And you do the damage of the difference.
Yeah.
So if you roll 2 successes, your defender rolls 1, then you do 1 damage.
1 damage to them. And then for yourself, how do you keep tab of your own health? Because there aren't really hit points.
There's no hit points, no.
So how do we keep track of our own health?
When you take damage, you can choose how you take it. So you take it off your brawn, so your like strength and physicality, your fitness, or your soul power.
Right.
One of the you can, if you take multiple damage, you can spread it if you want, or just put it all. So that just represents. So if you take it off your fitness, for example, that's you getting like winded or tired or sleepy or whatever. They're again very flexible.
Yeah, and but it does. I like how you can. Oh, I've lost my train of thought now. Sorry. What was I saying? Yeah, I like how you can. The player gets to choose that flexibility as well. It's not like, oh, you take acid damage, but it's. You can choose how it affects your character a bit more, or you could expend soul power to kind of throw up a mystical shield, like a soul shield, or to give yourself extra strength to be able to bound out of the way, or to. There's like it's really about your own ingenuity and creativity about managing those. And I think it's quite a fast system as well. It's not like you're sat there rolling these dice and adding this and taking that away, and then but I hit with this, but I've got this thing on it, so now it's add another D4, and then it's quite it's pretty clear cut.
I'm glad you think so. That was there's no maths. Well, I say no maths.
It's a lot of counting of how many dice.
If you count
how many D6s do I have, and can I borrow a D6 from you because I've got it.
If you're very, very good at brawn, for example, like you're very, very strong, and you decide to throw 3 soul power in, and you're also very good at melee weapons, you could have like 13, 14 dice, like on the extreme end of it. So.
Yeah, I think Gideon, my character, good old Gideon, she got up to like 11 dice or something, or 12 maybe, because I think it might have been that spirit mallet actually. Because she's a very brawny character. So it was like brawn plus melee. Yeah, brawn plus melee plus soul power plus the fact that it was linked to her awakening.
But you got 3 dice.
Yeah, because if you choose to do something that is sort of somehow connected to what your awakening was. So for her, I decided, and I just based on the character from a book, but I just sort of made up a thing. I said, when she was getting ganged up on by some people, and managed to somehow materialize like a spirit gun. And she never understood, she didn't know how this had happened, but she materialized this gun, and then they all started, and she was like, what just happened? You know. So her awakening and everything's all linked to fighting and combat and weapons. So to then choose to do an action that involves that meant that I got a free dice, an extra d6 for that. But I think it's nice to kind of be picky about how you choose, when you choose to kind of invoke the awakening. Like if you said everything you do, it's like, oh, I'm going to hit the thing because my awakening's about punching. It's like, it gets a bit boring after a while if you do that.
It's all about that player buy-in as well.
Yes, yeah.
And again, the master would have the final say on what your awakening is.
You can't punch everything.
No, and it is sometimes quite fun to fail.
Yes, yeah.
Some people don't like that, but again, just if you have people like that in your party or group or whatever, then you treat the game. It's easy enough. But like some of the most memorable parts of any session, whatever system we're running, like D&D in particular, when something goes wrong, it can just open up this whole thing.
Oh yeah.
But Wanderers is a tough game as well at times. Wandering Skull, I should say. Being a Wanderer is tough. So you kind of have to balance that as well.
Yeah. It is. Yeah, it's a gritty game. It has moments of, and it depends on the story that your table is telling, but it can go very dark if you want it to, or it can just be mildly gritty, shall we say?
Yeah, and I think there's no point being dark for darkness' sake. That's why I think things like World of Darkness works, because it has a purpose. The darkness is there for a reason. It's a horrible world that they live in, and I'd hope in this system it's the same. Like imagining never being able to stay in one place for very long. It's like anybody, even with the strongest wanderlust, you want to get home eventually, you know.
Yeah.
Get into your own bed.
It's
whatever.
not wondering if you. Yeah, there's always, you have somewhere that you return to, or some aspect of it. So to always be pulled away.
Yeah. You want to do it on your terms, don't you?
Yeah.
Does anybody in chat have any questions? I don't know, we're whittering to ourselves.
Yeah. Oh dear, you're
out. Out of me.
Oh no.
Very strong Pepsi.
Today I am drinking a butty bark. It's a lovely refreshing. It's called a butty bark, yeah. It's a lovely ale. Any questions before we keep whittering?
Well, yeah, I'm just really passionate about this game.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna just poke at my phone, so sorry anybody on Facebook. I think we're all good on here. We seem to be. Oh, no, that's far too close to the... Uh-oh. There we go, very wobbly. Yeah, sorry about for different cameras and things, it's like being in a studio. But yeah.
To a point, actually, you've got Wanderers and technology.
Yeah, no, so this is something we did have a serious chat about, because we were like... Yeah, because I find this a lot of... how many sort of, especially 90s, maybe early 2000s shows or films you watch where you're like, if they could just text one another,
yes.
A lot of this film or story would not have happened. So we were like, oh no, this actually kind of, what does that mean for Wandering's Call? Because, you know, we were talking about the aspect of having to leave your family, having to abandon your friends and where you grew up, and not being able to be in touch with people because you're always on the road. And you're like, oh, you just ring them. Or Skype, wasn't it? So how did we go with this? Or how did you go with it?
It was a group decision, or group discussion at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an interesting one. I just decided in the end that Wanderers have this sort of aura about them that interrupts technology. So they can't use mobile phones, basically, or technology. It's like an interference. Again, however, that's the kind of default. But again, I put in the book, if you want your characters to have access to the internet, then you give them access to the internet.
Yeah.
It can actually be a good thing in a way sometimes, because you can set sort of bigger scope of challenges that they might need like Googling skills for or whatever, if you want to include that. But
Googling skills.
yeah, I think
It's a good skill.
I personally would think it's more fun that you are kind of on your own. You have to rely on your own wits.
Yeah, you're very isolated and cut off from the rest of the world a little bit, and you're just part of something, some undercurrent of the world that you have to follow.
And not to give too much kind of lore away, because it's kind of fun to investigate that in the games. But there is a kind of underground network that you can access as a wanderer, and part of that network is like knowledge caches. A little bit like books and stuff.
Yeah.
But yes, that's all I'll say on that.
On that matter.
It's a very secretive world. It's no one else knows that wanderers exist.
Yeah. How many wanderers are there roughly out there, do you think?
Again, I don't want to say, because I don't want to lead anybody's games.
True. Yeah.
There can be every second person can be a wanderer if you want, but
it would change the game dramatically.
It would change the game,
but it might be fun. I don't know. It could be interesting.
I'd say, I don't know, maybe one in 10,000 or something.
Yeah.
No, maybe more.
More than 50,000. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So in in kind of like a small town, you might have like 4 or 5, like or 3. No, yeah, but I'd say less than 5.
Yeah.
But if they don't know one another already, then
Wanderers can tell the other wanderers out there, but you need to be quite close.
Yeah. So I was going to ask about this because then.
Ping.
So yeah, beep, beep. Yeah. So how does that work for the actual setup of the game? Like, the classic thing if you go into like D&D or something, it's like, oh, you're a group of adventurers. If you're just doing a one shot, you're a group of adventurers. You've been adventuring together for a while. You all met in a pub or sort of a tavern, rather, and now you're off. You've been given this quest and you're doing this. How do the wanderers? What's the kind of setup, or what would you recommend as a setup for starting a session to explain why they're all there?
Yeah, the wandering is a very mysterious thing. Sometimes it brings people together, and they don't know why, but they just suddenly end up going to the same place, and then the next wandering they go to the same place. So in a campaign that could have been happening for a while, so you know each other, or you literally could just be converging on this one spot. But because it's the wandering, you just never know what's going to happen. You might split you up later. You could be together years and years, and then one day one person has to go this way, then one the other. And
that actually lends itself really well to, like, if you've got a play group that's, like maybe there's some people who can't make it every session, or you have people who join in and come. It's like, oh, it's the wandering. They gotta go this week. Sorry, it's definitely not because they're busy or something. Wandering said they gotta go, and then it brings them back, maybe, hopefully
they survive.
Yeah.
But it's a really, really useful tool. It's a really useful storytelling tool, I think. What I would advise marshals to do, though, if you're going to do that, is think of the reason why the wandering is doing that. Because it can very quickly become a bit obvious that it's like, ooh, the wandering is just doing this thing, but as a storytelling device, and it helps you sort of backfill the story as well. If someone has to be away for a session or two, it helps their roleplay when they come back, if they have a vague idea of what they've been up to.
Maybe it sent them to get something that might help with a future session. So it's like, oh, you're going to come back and you'll have actually picked up this particular picture or scrap of something, or and you just felt like you had to put it in your pocket and bring it with you, and you don't know why. And oh, look, see here, that's really helpful to our next session's story. So yeah, it's quite nice to have that. So you're not constantly like, oh god, how are we going to explain? How have we done it in the past? Like, oh, just freeze frame. This person's frozen for the session.
Disappear of logic.
Yes, exactly. The classic, yeah. But yeah, so you were saying before about the core kind of the core aspects. Maybe we chat a bit about the character sheet actually. So you've got the cores and you've got the specialties.
Yep.
So what are they and how are they different?
So your cores are like your base attributes. So there's, see if I can remember them all off the top of my head.
Yeah, I'm just bringing up the things. Because again, this is things where names have been tweaked or changed a little bit. So it's like, oh, which one did we land with? I'm gonna
open it up.
Let's see who can find it faster. I downloaded it specifically for this purpose. But how do I do this?
Yeah, there we go. Brawn, fitness, awareness, knowledge, wisdom, social.
Real.
There's no kind of constitution type thing in there like a lot of games have, because that's tied into your soul power and sort of all the other stats really, because when you take damage you can take it off your physical.
Anything, yeah. It's like everything is your hit points really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you don't really need a con, so to speak. So yeah, brawn, how strong you are, fitness, how fit you are. Awareness is
how aware you are.
Yeah.
Wow, you really yeah.
There's a reason these 6 vague things have been used for what, 40, 50 years.
Yeah,
They do work pretty well. The sort of classic knowledge and wisdom thing. Knowledge is like book smart, like how good are you at remembering things, learning things, applying knowledge, how much of something do you know. Wisdom's like your common sense, all that kind of stuff, how wise you are, thinking on your feet, working through a situation. And social, how social you are really. It's,
I mean,
how you talk to people. And
I guess you could be an introverted character, but you're quite good at sort of reading the room and like picking up on the like social cues of other people and things like that. So social, I guess, doesn't mean just because you've got a higher social score you're like super extrovert sort of thing. It's quite it could be quite subtle how you decided to like have that. So
there's a lot of very sort of outgoing introverts out there in the world. And then specialities are you pick 8 at the start, and these are a bit more sort of narrow. So instead of being out of 10, they're out of 5. So it gives you an extra 5 dice and things. And it's things like melee weapons or politics, history, science. So. But you can use those specialities with any brawn, any core, any brawn. I mean, brawn and history might be an intriguing
hit someone really hard with their history book.
Yeah.
Or something. Yeah, it might be. It could be like if you have a really good working historical knowledge of like ancient weapons, and then you like find an old sword, like you're investigating somewhere, and maybe that could link. I don't know, but. I'd certainly argue that it did, so that I could have more dice. Or not argue, persuade.
Persuade.
Persuade, not just like, give me the dice.
It could be stuff like that. It could be knowledge of like historical architecture, and you just need to know where to whack to open like common.
That's very Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Indiana Jones is history and brawn.
Yeah.
Really, he is the ultimate combo.
Yeah.
In the first 3 and only 3 films. I'm not going to go there.
I've not seen the latest one. But
no, there isn't one. There isn't the latest one. No. No.
So it's a glitch in the Matrix.
Yeah, no, it's weird. Everyone had the shared hallucination. But yeah, so it's... it's things like that, but then it's also like... I was saying about with that character Gideon, it's like melee weapons, hand-to-hand combat... I think we're talking about survival skills as well, like the ability to kind of realise that it's going to storm, we're going to need to like find some shelter now, and
there are. I've given, I think it's about 20 specialities, but again, as a table, just talk about them. If you're changing the setting, for example, you probably don't want like firearms as a specialty. You swap it out for something else. What makes sense.
Yeah, no, it's good, and it feels very when you're crafting your character, it feels really personal. Like I really like it. It feels very or unique or like I don't know. I like the flexibility of it. It's really cool.
But you don't get many pips to put in specialities as well. So you have to kind of really consider it.
Yeah, and I think it's a really good. You kind of hit the right level there of flexibility versus constraint, so that it's not just complete chaos.
Yeah.
But it's but you do feel like it's your unique character.
Yeah.
Like if you're playing like I'm a human fighter, it's like but here it's like no, I am a human fighter, but I'm Gideon design. So yeah.
I'm sassy and comics.
I love puns and all this stuff, But so I think that's really cool. And then there's the Decay. Which is probably the most recent-ish addition that came out of the playtests to the sheet. So what's Decay?
Decay is a very bad thing to accrue. It is where you get decay in two different ways. One is you ignore the call of the wandering.
Never do that.
Very, very bad thing to do. And the other is you gain decay when you steal someone else's soul power. You get this kind of aura about you that other wanderers can sort of feel. And the more you do it, the more horrible that feeling gets. So another wanderer could tell if they walked into the room that all of a sudden there'll be like this wave of just disgust goes through you. And you'd be like, oh, what's happened? And then you sort of notice this person that's just come in. It's like,
That's fascinating as well, because you could, if you've got players that don't know what that feeling of disgust is, they could be completely unaware of it. And you're like, you describe this person walks in the room and you feel this wave of disgust, and they're like, they'll know something's up, but they might not know particularly, oh, it's a wanderer who has sucked out somebody else's soul and maybe you're next, and that's really cool.
Or they're ignoring the wandering, they could be.
Yeah, or they're ignoring the wandering, and maybe, that's brilliant, because it could be, actually they've set up, the wandering didn't call them for 6 months, and now they're really settled, and they've met somebody, and they're in love, and
you don't want to go.
And then, but your reaction to that is disgust, and like, that's so, it's such like a rich ground for telling a story. I think it's like really,
because you can't help feeling that way about them. It's just like your instinct to get away from them because they're doing something very bad.
That's
wrong.
That's so I guess which like kind of leads on to like how can you get rid of decay?
You can, yes. Depends how you get it. You mark it off on your character sheet in two different ways. If it's from ignoring the call, you just put a line through it. And then to get rid of it, basically you just have to start listening again and go in the direction of where the wandering. If you're stealing soul power, that is like the most heinous crime a wanderer can do. It's quite hard to get rid of it. You have to either have not stolen soul power for quite a long time and you slowly lose decay, or you have to do something entirely selfless.
Right.
So it's kind of a little shortcut. But you can't, it doesn't seem to work if you purposefully go out of your way to find something good to do in the hope of getting rid of decay. Your soul seems to know that it's not genuine. So you have to do something good.
And again, leaving that door open, as difficult as it may be to return, to reverse the decay on your soul, it is still an option. And again, the role-playing kind of storytelling aspects that could lead to are really fascinating. Like if you decide you're going to be a character that has, made some really horrible choices and has like taken other people's souls and done these things, but now they're trying to redeem themselves, and how is that going to work out when the other group members maybe are distrustful of you, and Yeah, it could be fascinating. That'd be a very complex game, but it's an option if you want it. But under the same game system, you could also just be like, oh yeah, all of you are fine. You could even ignore the tech aspect if you wanted. I think. Yeah, so it's just so flexible.
If you want to run a more evil game where wanderers happen to be bad, or a bad thing, you become evil and you're a wanderer, then just ignore the game and just have people like draining souls left, right, and centre.
Yeah.
But I would avoid that in a normal game because it can get a bit not farcical, but just a bit much.
I mean, if you wanted a game where it was going to be, I'd probably say like a one-shot or something, but it was a one-shot where it's like, it's PvP, like you're all gonna, let's go for it.
Let's just be creative and try and destroy each other.
Yeah, let's kill each other today, like, let's go for it. That could be really fun. But like fun in like the terms of game enjoyment. Not fun for your characters.
Excuse me. A lot of this game is not fun for your character.
Yeah,
but it should hopefully be very fun for you.
So that could be interesting.
Do we have any more questions from chat? Or I don't know how many more questions we've got.
Well,
knocking about. How are we all anyway? How is this sounding for everybody? Does it sound like a...
I worry that I was leaning back quite a lot and creaking my chair and all sorts of things.
Sounds like an interesting game.
I need to find the questions. There they are.
Sneak peeks of the art.
Oh, hello. Can you get a call in 2 different directions? Oh, good lord.
For one person, no. But your group could, yes. Absolutely. If you have a group of 5, they could end up going in 5 different directions.
So you have to choose who to... Or do you split the party? Always split the party.
You might have to split the party.
Always split the party, yeah.
I would say if you're a new games master, don't do that. It gets very complicated very quickly.
Yes.
Sneaky peeky of the art.
Arty-warty.
We could just even show...
You could show the little video or...
Yeah, we're going to be putting art and things on socials.
Yes, yeah, the artwork is. I suppose I should talk a little bit about it, shouldn't I?
You're the artist.
I am the artist. Yes, Bill. So I'm Amy Jane Hardy. I'm the lead artist for Wandering's Call, and here's one of my little pieces. How do we do this? I'm just watching. I'm just watching stuff switch up.
Boom!
There we go. There's one. So, actually, and we can talk a little bit about this in terms of the actual game mechanic of what is happening here. So, what is happening here, Sean?
This is someone undergoing the final burn, as it's called.
The burn.
Terms might change on that one, but it's basically you can make a conscious decision to use up all your remaining soul power. If you run out of soul power in game, you die. Basically. So in this final burn, you can choose to use all. It has to be all that you've got left, and it counts for double, basically. So it's
you go nuclear.
You basically go nuclear in not just like boom kind of way, but in a anyway, really, just like a super powerful blast of soul power. If you need, you could be sacrificing yourself if something very bad's about to happen. You could like do this big explosion of mental energy that just tells everybody around you like run away, and they kind of do. Or it could literally be a massive explosion.
Yeah.
But once you do that, there is no going back. It is literally the final thing you can do.
So there isn't a system of like resuscitation or...
Yes, but not because of that.
Not through this?
Nope.
This is your last...
final sacrifice,
Yeah. So, this poor chap here. So this is one of my illustrations for the book. These are normally it's very different to the style that I'm kind of professionally known for, because mostly I do kind of geometric landscapes. because I'm quite outdoorsy. I do a lot of fell running and hiking and things. I'm always out with my border collie Scout.
Yeah.
So it's actually been a joy to work on something completely different, completely. I wouldn't say completely unrelated, because there are actually illustrations in progress that are going to be more outdoorsy and more lean into the kind of survival one of the aspect of the wandering. So I think that is coming, if that's something you're interested in. But this one here, so working with, it's a digital drawing, but working on like a very sort of painterly charcoal and paint mixed media style.
So good.
And with the old symbol in the background there. What does the symbol mean?
What does the symbol mean?
Are we allowed to know?
No, you don't get to know where it comes from.
Damn.
But yeah, it's just a symbol that wanderers have used throughout the millennia, I'm going to say, to identify each other and direct people
Yeah.
around. Count Cube question, are you doing any map work on it? Not really.
We haven't discussed it.
No, mainly because the setting could be anywhere, really.
Yeah.
But in the book there are examples of, like, combat maps, for example.
Yeah.
Because of the way movement works, it's quite Fate in its Fate core in its movement mechanics. But no, that'd be interesting. Is there anything in particular, Count Cube, you would like to see in the book? In terms of like map work? I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
I've made quite a few maps in my time.
Yeah, I mean, we were kind of one of the like stretch goal ideas was to do a little mini play session, I think.
Yeah.
Did we talk about that at one point?
Yeah.
So like it would be cool to do like a map or a couple of maps for that. That'd be amazing to do. But we haven't got maps because of the freedom of it. But I'm not saying I want to know.
No, absolutely.
So normally, so my kind of professional work is landscapes and mountainscapes, and it's it's like black and white monochrome, very like tattoos. Actually, a lot of people like them for tattoos.
Oh, don't say that to me.
No.
I already have enough of them.
So that's the kind of like, because it's not that it's the only thing I love to draw. I love to draw all sorts of things. But from kind of working as a professional artist standpoint, it's easier to kind of lean into one kind of style of artwork that people like and they want more of, and they want to see different things with it. And I mean, to be honest, from a practical point of view, being black and white, it's cheaper to print, get prints made, good high quality prints, rather than something that's a full colour oil painting. To have that printed would be really costly. But yeah, so initially, I'm still working as a landscape artist. But yeah, so kind of trying, like, being able to sort of stretch my creative muscles a bit and work on something that's like completely different is just lovely. Like, it's been a real breath of fresh air, actually. It's been really cool.
It's so good to have you on. It's like, a rule book is, it's full of rules and it's full of text, but it's just the artwork that you're doing is just, it's just taking it to another level. That
I think
so good.
Certainly from the play tests, like, some of these images have come from the descriptions that you've given from the sessions, and I'm like, I just get such a clear image of what you're describing because you do it so well. I'm like, that's it, I've got to draw this. I go, oh my goodness. I think a few of those from these playtests will make it into the book, and it's lovely. I think it's like kind of full circle. Definitely the barn one. I'll say no more.
Oh yes,
but there's shadowy barn. It's brilliant. Oh, so good. But yeah, and then so different things, different pieces of artwork. Some are there will be. I'm hoping to do some more colour stuff. There'll still be a very muted palette, I think, to kind of lean into the grittiness of the strong Magnus Archive vibes.
It's
This is like I can't do a good Jonathan.
it's something I've not listened
archives.
to, and I really should. I don't know why I put it off, but I don't know.
Oh, you haven't? Oh,
No, I don't know. I usually listen to like stuff like later on at night. And
right.
Magnus Archives does not sound like something you should be listening to right before bed.
Some of them aren't. Yeah, no, definitely some of them aren't. There was one that had spiders.
Ooh.
And I think it even had like a trigger warning on it or something, so I skipped that one.
Really?
Right. But I haven't actually finished the whole, I haven't finished all the shows yet, so I understand the falling asleep thing too, because I fall asleep to some stuff that I'm like, you shouldn't. There's this guy, the French Whisperer, and he's talking to you about the history of tanks or something, and you think like, why are you falling asleep to this? But it's the voice, and I think Jonathan Sims' voice is like the Magnus Archives, and it's all low, and he starts talking, but yeah,
very good.
I can understand that, but the stories are too good to fall asleep to, surely. But,
Yeah. I will listen to them one bunch, but
yeah.
But yeah, I think just the more people that can back the book, the more money I can pay Amy to get more artwork in the book, because I would like every second page to be glorious. Yeah,
Big like concertina ball. Oh, it'd be amazing.
But yeah, it's tough because it's such a amazing project to do as a person, but you kind of still have to live.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I think generally kind of people showing support for the different aspects and the different creative energies that goes into a project like this. I think the artwork's easy to kind of be like, oh, you have done 10, 15 drawings or whatever. It's like easy to quantify, but there's so much other, about hours and hours of work that you and Robin have put into to this, that's harder to quantify, but it's just as more important for this, because I can't create something if I don't feel inspired by it, and it's your game, yours and Robin's ideas and game structure, and then the play sessions that have inspired these drawings. So yeah.
But I'm having ideas for encounters through the drawings you're doing.
Oh no.
Particular shadow lady one. I just have such a good idea for that one now.
Absolutely. World building, definitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
High budget, by the way. How are we doing? Yeah, world building. I love world building.
Yeah.
My last Kickstart was actually a book.
Where is
See
it?
it up there somewhere. The East Midlands. That was another project that started off because I was playing a game and it got out of hand. I was like,
Before you know where you are.
this is a lot of pages. I was like, you know what? Let's put it into a book and put some real effort in. And
Yeah, but that's like passion, isn't it?
yeah,
That's
just love creating stuff,
yeah, absolutely.
writing. Yeah.
The problem is when you get too many ideas. Definitely,
Yes.
you're like, oh, I've got to prioritise them. No.
Yeah, indeed.
Just want to start a new thing every time.
I'm tired from one thing. I was like, 6 ideas there.
Yeah,
But just being creative is just really rewarding.
absolutely.
And rolling dice.
Ah, yeah, you need the dice. I do love this game for the number of dice you get to roll.
You should play Warhammer 40k. You roll
Yeah.
a lot of dice.
Yes, yeah.
Some might say too many. But
Too many. Is there such a thing? But I need more d6s. I only have 8 of them or something. I need. So
quite often in Warhammer you're rolling 80.
80?
Yeah.
Good.
Well, not
How
quite
do you
often, but
track
sometimes.
that?
I don't play Warhammer. I have not got on the plastic crack, as they call it.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah, I would like more dice, but it's also a habit I do not need to build. Sounds like...
Yeah.
I know. I know. I would like more pretty dice. That would be good. This is a very pretty dice, I have to say.
It is.
Look at this sparkly number. I don't know if everyone can see, but it's it's like, yeah, purples and greens and sparkles. It's very cool.
Yeah, I would love to offer some like Wandering's Call dice, but
Yeah.
it's just a bit pricey. Minimums are very high, unfortunately. But if you are interested, please let me know. Because the more people who are interested, then I can get some.
Yeah, I mean, you showed me the mock-ups for the ideas you had, and it was the 6 replaced with the wandering symbol.
Yeah.
And it just looked brilliant. But yeah, like you say, it's just sort of it's a big leap to go to that. But the more people who show interest, that's definitely something we'd love to do. You'd love to do. I'd love to even buy, probably. Steal from you.
I want some myself.
Yeah, I know. We need an excuse for them ourselves, I think. Yeah, no, they would be fantastic.
The great thing is you can literally just use one dice for this whole game. Literally any dice that's fair and has 6 sides. You'll be doing a lot of re-rolling, but it works.
Yeah, it does. Any other questions? I think.
Any other questions on art or games in general or Magic the Gathering, Badger? Not that I'll be able to answer them. That's another hobby that's just sort of passed me by. I say hobby, but I might get into trouble by calling it a hobby.
It's just a little hobby. It's a way of life,
It's
Sean.
a way of
Good lord.
Yeah. It is. It's just passed me by somehow.
Yeah, me too, actually. Not for any particular avoidance or anything. It's just something. It's like D&D. Like I had some mates who did play it when I was a teenager, but I didn't know them. I knew one of them well. I didn't know the others, so I was feeling a bit awkward. They were all guys. I was like, and it all sounded really complicated. I couldn't understand how the game would actually work. And then it kind of just never happened. And it felt like it was destined to, because I love fantasy and I love sci-fi and I love like Morrowind. Like I've lost a lot of my life to Morrowind and Diablo too, obviously, which I've now found because they've done the resurrected version, and I've lost a lot of time to that as well. And but yeah, D&D didn't happen for a long time. It's your wife's fault, actually.
I know.
This is the
terrible.
problem. Yeah.
How dare she?
She's just leading people astray, to be honest.
The Dice Goblin Cave.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but I think, Magic the Gathering is a similar thing. It's like kind of very on the edges of it, and sort of looking in, you're like, well, it just seems like an awful big thing to sort of get involved. Plus, I have far too many hobbies that I already ignore too much.
Yeah.
That I'd love to do, but oh no. Don't anger the blue dragon.
Oh no. Poor lady.
What a blue dragon is that? Like ice breath? I can't remember what blues have.
Blues. No, it's lightning.
Oh, it's lightning. Oh, that's bad.
Yeah, it's
Oh no.
it's white dragons that.
Oh, they're cold breath. Yeah.
Yes.
I never got the black. Black is acid, isn't it?
It's.
I always felt that was wrong. So I thought it should be like shadows or something, or just black fog.
It's acid.
Is it acid?
Green's acid, but I think grey might be as well. Poison.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway.
The blue eyes white dragon. Is that a reference to something?
Yeah. I don't
It
know.
feels like it should be.
Definitely tingling a reference bell somewhere, but tingling the reference bell. Phrase I didn't think I was going to say today. There you go. You heard it here. There's a subreddit called it's like brand new sentences.
Yes. Yes.
So that's could be one on there.
Reddit.
But yeah, Reddit. I like it. I think I'm going to sneeze. Oh yeah. I shall launch myself violently away from the microphone before sneezing. Don't worry.
Is there any more questions from people beforehand? Because
before I sneeze, or before we
before the stream.
before we end. I think there was just a couple from the prayer list. So so just to talk a bit more about the Kickstarter and kind of give a rundown of like what's the main goal, and then what are you hoping for beyond that?
Oh, wow. So yeah, the Kickstarter
Positive manifestation. There we go. Manifestation.
Google, why go away, Google? No one cares.
Google's involved.
Yeah. So yeah, the Kickstarter's for a book. Books are unfortunately quite expensive to just buy and hope you sell them. So yeah, just crowdsource that takes a lot of the risk, like financial risk. But the great thing about print is that I think of any industry, the economies of scale are just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Even from like 10 copies to 20 copies, for example.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just it takes the financial risk off me a little bit, and it also means we don't have to print hundreds of books or thousands of books and then waste trees.
Absolutely, yeah.
Just get them sent straight to people. But yeah, I'd love to start streaming this, streaming games. That'd be really cool. But again, that needs equipment. Like this webcam, bless it, it's not great.
Yeah.
Reasonably decent mic.
Yeah, the mic's good.
Yeah.
The wheelie chair, I'm trying, I don't think anyone appreciates how hard I am trying to not just spin around on this chair and stuff. It's wheelie chairs are my kryptonite, absolutely. I'm trying to stay still. I'm sorry if you're hearing a lot of creaking noises. But yeah, so the initial Kickstarter is for the hardback.
Yes.
Full colour.
PDF. Yeah, full colour.
Yeah, and a PDF.
Yes. But it just means obviously the more money I can get in, the bigger I can make the book as well.
Yeah.
Because more pages is more money. Everything in the book now is all you need to play. It's just all the sort of extra bits that we can't risk putting in to start with.
Yeah.
Like Robin's writing a multi-thread adventure where you can it has like 3 plot lines that go through it, so you can have all 3 running at once, or you can just drop 1 or drop 2 and then the whole thing still works.
That's insane.
But that's a lot of pages and we'll struggle to fit it in.
Yeah.
So we just need the backing for that.
I mean, that's just going to be stunning. Like, wow. And so this is my word of the day apparently, but so flexible. It's like, do you have a big party or a small party, or maybe some people can't be there that week, so they're part of the second strand that's going to be on pause for a second, and we'll do. Oh man, that's so clever. 3 different
stories.
Yeah, no, that's so
change
clever.
the house a little bit. So.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Wow. So if and when you'll say when we get the main book and PDF fully funded, what are you hoping for after that?
Yeah, it's just more support, more share, just to build up the game, get it promoted to more people. I just really love this game. I just want to share it just because it's a cool game. Get set up for streaming. That'd be really cool. Get the dice. I think that'd be so good to get some dice. Get your artwork sold. Yeah,
so we're hoping to do a set of A5 prints of the artworks. They will be in the book, but obviously they'll be they'll be smaller and they'll be part of the text of the page and things. So yeah, having them printed as separate pieces to go on the walls, that'd be absolutely fantastic. Some will be, like this piece will be involved, but some will have people, some will be leaning more into, like I was saying before, leaning more into the kind of the wandering aspect of the different areas that your wanderers might go into. Again, I mean, we've talked a bit about setting, about how flexible it is, but it's not just about whether it's a medieval setting or a present day. It's like, well, is it in the northern wilds of Scotland, or is it going to take place in Milan? It's like, it can be anything. So having different sort of setting artworks would be fantastic, would be awesome. Yeah.
Another thing as well, I would love like a central repository of like tales of the wandering, in a kind of what TV show is it from? Where it has like all the stuff on the board with like the red string, like trying to connect the dots.
Yeah, it's a classic meme. Yeah.
It'd be just really cool for like players to have this central resource for like storytelling and
Absolutely.
things like that. But yeah, it'll cost money.
Yeah, wouldn't that be fantastic though? And you could have your characters sort of interact with different characters in the past, and that can be part of the story going forward if you want. And it's so rich. I think this whole system. It's super fertile. No. We'll go back to rich. I'll reverse that. It's rich for the storytelling.
Virile storytelling.
yes, very good. Rather. Anyway, yeah. So that's how we're hoping to go. Oh no.
Nerds.
Yeah.
Maybe put two nerds in front of a webcam and a microphone and tell you.
Hey, I think we've been kept very on topic.
I know, yes.
And we've not completely wandered off topic yet.
Yeah, you wonder.
So it's the call. Every time I lose track of a conversation, it's the wandering call. That's it. Yeah, it's my excuse now. I'm going to go to that.
Just have to leave now.
Seen that thing? It's like out of my mind. Back in 5 minutes. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, any last questions before we wrap up? As it were.
From the chat. No, there. I can't believe we've had. Well, how long have we had? This is some
90 minutes.
90 minutes?
Pretty much.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
it's at half 8, yeah. BST.
It's been a nice chat.
Yeah, it's been lovely, and it's obviously like there's stuff that I know, I've already known about, but like to sort of sit and talk more about where this came from, how you developed it, and things like that. It's like it's really interesting. Picky brains.
I've been a bit cagey about lore and stuff because I do want it to be a bit more of a surprise.
We could do like a spoiler stream for like marshals only or something.
Yeah, marshals only.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
even in the book there are certain things which are intentionally left open.
Yeah.
Because I think if you explain everything it takes away the mystery a little bit. It's not quite as fun.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, would you say there's Easter eggs maybe in the book?
Oh yes.
Oh.
There are many Easter eggs. There's always Easter eggs in my books.
Find them.
There's a lovely section on historical figures that may or may not have been wanderers.
To explain
A few historical things. Not necessarily Blue Dragon. Once you're a marshal, you can't be a player. It's even if you, because there will be wanderers out there who know a lot of the history, but they still have to be a wanderer.
they've come up with more. They've come up against more stuff, and they're just more experienced.
Yeah, and even if you know the why, the wandering still affects you. So you still have to move anyway. It's again, it's like any other roleplay system with D&D. It's like I've played a lot of hours of D&D, and if a monster's described that I know, I just can't help but know what that thing can do. I try as much as I can not to use that meta knowledge because that's not very fun. But I think that's just the way it is for any system, really. Yeah,
there's always going to be like you're going to hold back. Maybe if you do have further knowledge, I'll hold that back a little bit. But I think also, and this is something we've talked about in the play sessions as well. Not all the wanderers are going to be young. Like some will be older. They'll be more experienced. So it could be up to the marshal about if you have another person in your play group, in your session that's also been a marshal or has read the book or whatever. Maybe they're just an older wanderer, so they have an excuse for their quote unquote meta knowledge. You you can just twist that so that it makes sense that they are kind of the guidance for the group, maybe.
Or make up your own lore.
Yeah, or just add stuff.
Add stuff, take away.
I mean, I think I've never been a DM, but I know that from other people saying, like, they just change the monsters a bit. They just make their powers a bit different, and then you know that, because our D&D session, we've got, so Jay's our DM, Sean's also playing, you've also been a DM for a lot of other games, but but Jay twists stuff and makes it fit what they want, and
they do.
So you're always like, yeah, they do, exactly. So Sean's like, a bit like, hang on a second. Yeah, so it keeps it fresh.
Keeps it fun for me as well.
Yeah. But
in the book. On purpose, I have 2 sections for marshals. The first section is like tips on how to run a game, how to like write story arcs and write campaigns and stuff, and then the second martial section is like all the lore and the enemy stats and all that. So technically you could just, like, even as a martial, sort of skip a lot of the lore if you wanted to.
Yeah. Or just have a brain like a sieve, like me, because I haven't fully read the PDF lately, but because like I say, it's still changing and adapting and things, but I just kind of intentionally gloss over sections to keep things fun for me when I'm playing. Well, no, I mean, they'd still be fun, but to keep things a bit fresh and interesting. So, so what can I just recommend? Having a bad memory. You'll be fine.
Good. I like that.
Yeah. But yeah.
The worst, particularly like D&D, someone asks a question about a god that you made up 2 years ago and have written 3 paragraphs 2 years ago. It's like, I did write this, but 2 years ago.
Oh yeah. I can't remember. What did I have for breakfast? What did I?
It's so much fun. I love that. Thinking on the fly.
Absolutely. But yeah, any last requests?
But, I'm sure we'll stream again.
Oh yeah.
Or I will, and you'll probably stream at some point.
So one of the things I'm planning to do is do some like draw with me sessions where I work on some of the artwork. I definitely want to do it for Wandering's Call, but I'm also going to be doing that for my other artwork as well. But yeah, to do a little Wandering's Call draw with me session would be absolutely amazing. Just live stream it and just sit and chat, and hope I don't mess up the drawing too much, but there you go. Otherwise there'll be a lot of swearing. Just be like, not safe for work live stream. But yeah, that is true. The digital drawing is good for the undo button. But then if I do too much digital and then I switch to I was going to say live drawing, but I switch to like physical drawing, there is that moment where you go, like undo. Wait, what? I can't. And then you're like, I'm in pen? Oh no! Yeah, it's quite funny to kind of switch my brain between the problems of digital. But actually saying that digital drawing is quite problematic in itself. It's not easy. There's definitely stuff that is easier, like the undo button, but that also leads to you kind of never knowing when to stop working on a piece, like, because you can always try something a bit different and save that one and just make another version and tweak it a bit, and that can lead to a lack of productivity, we might say. So maybe a stream session where I talk more about the artwork and the process of making that, and chat about drawing in general would be lovely. So it'd be good. And then we were saying live some sessions, some play sessions.
Yes, I'm going to get some willing victims.
Nice.
We're going to record a session. It'd be nice for people to see how it goes, I think. And I think that's it.
Yeah, shall we peace out then?
We'll peace out.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining us, everyone.
To Twitch and to Facebook.
If anyone has any questions at all, just comment on the Kickstarter or on the social accounts. Links are down somewhere on Twitch.
Scattered.
But just search for like Wandering's Call on Instagram or Facebook. what have you.
And share with your friends.
Yes, please.
Just even if just a quick like and subscribe, or however it works on Kickstarter and all these different places. So I'm very excited. Oh, that's awesome, CatCube.
Thank you so
That's
much.
absolutely awesome. Thank you. Yeah, we really appreciate it. Just share it with everyone. Like we say, it's super open. It's not like a heavy fantasy game, or it can be if you want it to be. You have to be. So it's a pretty open thing. So yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right.
Bye.
Thank you all.